Hello everyone, my name is Felix Wiegandt and I'm a PhD student at Fraunhofer Institute for Toxicology and Experimental Medicine in Hanover, Germany. My presentation today focuses on the recording of abdominal movements of preterm neonates using a time-of-flight camera to develop a physiological abdominal movement model. The key for efficient inhalative therapy is a breath-trigger drug release system. However, to release the aerosol at the right time, you need a reliable breath signal as a trigger. How do we get such a signal? With sensors. But as preterm neonates have a low tidal volume and a high breathing frequency, one of the standard sensors, the flow sensor, is not suitable due to its large dead volume. Therefore, we need alternative sensors. Neonates are abdominal breathers, so we are able to use sensors which detect the abdominal movement to determine the breathing pattern. It would be most practical to test and verify such sensors on preterm neonates. However, this is usually not possible without great difficulty. Therefore, we need a physiological model that mimics the abdominal movement. For such a model, we need reliable abdominal movement data. In order to acquire the movement data, we need to develop a measurement setup for use in the clinic. When the setup is complete, we have to record the movement data, which will be processed and analyzed in order to extract the respiratory parameters and identify the breathing pattern. Our clinical study was based in the Medical School Hanover in Germany. It consisted of 5 preterm neonates. 3 of them breathed spontaneously and 2 received high-flow nasal cannula therapy. With a time-of-flight camera, we took 5 90-second movies for each preterm neonate. The used frame rate was 45 frames per second. The median gestational age at birth of the examined preterm neonates was 27 weeks and 3 days, ranging from 25 weeks to 32 weeks and 1 day. The median birth weight was 800 grams, with a range from 585 grams to 930 grams. At the time of recording, the preterm neonate's median chronological age was 42 days, ranging from 7 to 50 days. The median weight was 1,550 grams, with a range from 720 grams to 1,920 grams. On the left side, you can see the measurement setup. The time-of-flight camera was placed about 30 centimeters above the preterm neonate, and the data was recorded with the measuring notebook. On the right side, you can see the photos which we took from the setup in the clinic. The preterm neonate is laying in its incubator, and the camera is placed above him. The recorded data was converted into a grayscale image and a depth image. The depth image makes the difference in height more visible. This chart shows extracted breathing movement over time. The x-axis represents the time in seconds, and the y-axis represents the distance from the camera to the preterm neonate in millimeters. The raw movement data was a little noisy, but after we filtered it, you can actually see the breathing movement with the inhalation and exhalation periods. From this data, we were able to extract the respiratory parameters. We obtained an average inhalation time of 0.4 seconds and an exhalation time of 0.6 seconds with an inhalation-exhalation ratio of 1 to 1.5. The respiratory frequency was 60 breaths per minute. These extracted respiratory parameters were consistent with the data from literature and thus plausible. From the movement data, we also extracted various breathing patterns. In a moment, I will show you recordings of the abdominal movement from one of the preterm neonates. At the top, you see the preterm neonate breathing. The left video is a grayscale video, and the right one is a depth video. The lower left video will show you the extracted breathing movement over time, and the lower right, the extracted breathing pattern from the starter. The y-axis is again the distance between the neonate and the camera, and the x-axis the time in seconds, or rather the recorded frames. As you can see, the breathing at the beginning of the video is normal. The preterm neonate then sighs and goes back to breathing normally. As mentioned earlier, we extracted various breathing patterns from our movement data. In the upper left diagram, you see a forced breathing pattern. On the right side, you can see the sigh, which we saw on the previous slide. In the lower left diagram, you can see the slow expiration pattern. In the lower right diagram, you can see a preterm neonate crying. Here we will look at the extracted abdominal movement on a sectional plane. In the lower left video, we have drawn a white cross on the recording, which represents the selected sectional plane. The sectional plane from head to foot is the sagittal plane section, which you can see in the upper left corner. The recorded sectional plane running across the abdomen is the transverse sectional plane, which can be seen in the video at the top right. The extracted abdominal movement at the intersection of both planes can be seen in the lower right video. At the beginning of the recordings, you can see the preterm neonate sigh and then return back to its normal breathing. To summarize the aforementioned work, we developed a measurement setup to record movement data in preterm neonates, which was usable in the clinic. We then recorded the preterm neonates and extracted the respiratory parameters. We were able to extract the duration of inspiration and expiration, the respiratory frequency, and the breathing movement over time. We were also able to identify various breathing patterns like sighing, slow expiration, crying, and forced breathing. As a next step, we will implement these findings into an abdominal movement model based on actuated pin matrices. By controlling each pin independently, changes in abdominal movement can be simulated exactly. That's it for my presentation on the recording of abdominal movements of preterm neonates using a time-of-flight camera. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your attention. Stay safe out there. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your attention. Stay safe out there.